Hey there, my name is Rick, and I'm making this video for the It Gets Better project because it does get better, and that's speaking from personal experience. I grew up here in the state of Vermont, and it's pretty open for being pretty rural. Needless to say, there are still bullies, and I dealt with it growing up. High school was rough, so bad, in fact, that I actually ended up dropping out in the 11th grade. But I refused to let them win, so right after dropping out, I went and got my GED right away, and I went right into college, a local community college, and I started my higher education right off. Now, the years that followed after high school, things got better, but there were also some rough points. I ended up one night, I went into City Hall Park, which is in downtown Burlington. I had lost my wallet, and I had asked this group of boys if they had seen my wallet. One of them was one of my bullies from high school. As I turned around, the first boot connected with my back. Um, what followed were them yelling fag and all that sort of stuff. I got away. Thank God I got away. Who knows what would have happened. And, that happened, and sometimes cars ride by and they yell out fag. I mean, I love my bag. I have a handbag that I use, and maybe that does garner me attention, but needless to say, riding by in a car and calling someone a fag is just wrong. Now, the year I turned 21 was actually pretty rough. A lot of this had been building up. I had been coming out. I started coming out when I was 18, and everyone was pretty open about that. My father wasn't. It became the topic that we don't discuss. But I would hear him behind my back calling me a fag or something, or saying something to my sister, and my sister would then in turn say it back to me just so she knew. So I was dealing with a lot of this at this point, and I dwelled on it, and that was probably the worst mistake I've ever made. I dwelled on it. So on February 18th of 2009, it all came to a head, and I went into my father's closet and I took one of his hunting rifles and I loaded the gun. I aimed it at my chest, positioned my toe on the trigger, and slammed down. The bullet connected right here, and it came out right here. I was knocked backwards. I went unconscious for about 10-15 seconds. And when I woke up, I was laying on the floor, and at first I was in shock. I didn't know if I had actually done it. But I pulled myself up, and I walked downstairs. And as I was coming down the stairs, my father, who had been a lifetime hunter, had heard the gunshot. He knew what it was, but as if to confirm his fears, he asked me, "What was that noise?" And I told him. I was like, "Daddy, I've been shot." And it was at this point that I got to him and I collapsed. And he carried me into the dining room and laid me out on the floor. He called 911, and while he was waiting for the ambulance, he tried to he was holding me. Um, there was a lot of blood, and he was trying to stop it. He didn't really know what he was doing, but he was trying. And all the while, in his own panic, all he would say was, "Don't let my son die. God, do not let my son die." I had, up to that point, thought his feelings for me were non-existent, but I witnessed it. When I was at my darkest moment, I learned that, I had a misconception about him. He was my father, and he did love me, and he did accept me, but at that point it was too late. I had already done the deed. Now, the ambulance came, brought me to the hospital, and I was in the hospital for about a week, and miraculously, the bullet didn't hit a single organ. It moved clean through my chest, broke some bones, ripped open some muscle, but it didn't hit a single organ, and no one understands why. And thank God it didn't, because things have gotten so much better. I've just spent the summer in Europe, backpacking. It was a dream. It was a dream that I had, and I would have never been able to achieve had I finished this, had I finished what I set out to do that night. My sister had her baby, and my nephew, Riley, is my entire life, and I would have never gotten to meet him. I'm just about done with school now, college, and I'm getting ready. I want to go to law school. And I mean, things are so much better. Like, I'm amazed. Things just are better. So much better. So much so that I can't even really think about. It blows my mind just to think about it. And so that's why I'm making this video, is because I've been there. I've had a gun. I've shot myself. Blind with sadness, blinded with loneliness. And I was unable to see at that point that things were going to get better. There was only one option. And I'm glad that I survived, because now I know there were so many other options. I was just choosing that route. I was blinded to that fate. And if you feel like that, I seriously hope you try to survive. Do not let them win. Do not. You should survive. You're a wonderful person. You're a beautiful person. Listen to these videos. You have so much people out there. You know, if you're absolutely feeling like it's coming to the end and you can't do it, I want you to sit down, write down on a piece of paper any and all of your goals, and make them happen. That's what I've been doing. I have a list of goals, and I'm going down it one by one. And I am accomplishing every one of them. I'm not taking no for an answer. And then think that life is going to get better. And just think about all the positiveness you could have in your life and all that good stuff that could happen. And you'd miss all that if you killed yourself, if you committed suicide. And then, you know, the other thing for my story is I had to see my family's reaction to this, because this was a very violent act. And I had to watch every one of my family members, not only just my father screaming, "Do not let my son die." There was my mother and my grandmother, and not a one of them really knew what to do. I had to see all of this. And so think that you are loved. While they may not show it, like case in point, my father and I, they do love you, or your friends, but it does get better. Just remember that. It gets better.